Welcome to Mindful Live, Mindful Live number 45. It's currently Monday, the 28th of February. Welcome. Nice to have you here, Mindful Live number 45. If you missed me the last 2 days of last week, my apologies. Studio problems. But yes, we're here today, and what we're talking about is the very unfortunate and saddening news of the divers. The divers that have now officially lost their lives. At first, part of the reason I was a little later than 9:30 tonight was I was waiting on some people from down there who had interest in being on the live too, and we would have spoken to them about this entire incident and gone over some of that. But unfortunately, that could not have worked out that way. Unfortunately. But we're still here. We're still going to talk about this. All right. We're still here. We're still going to talk about this. Right. Bodies have been found. Really unfortunate. What about lockout and tagout? Condolences. Yes. Condolences to the family. Bodies of 3 divers recovered. Now, as a caveat to this, as I was saying, yes, user. Yes, I am aware. We'll see how it all goes. But yes, as I was saying previously, the original intention tonight was there was supposed to be some guests joining the live also to speak about this incident from first-hand view, but they are still down there. This hour in the night, I spoke with someone down there right before I came onto this live, and they informed me that they were still down at the site in Point-A-Pay, still trying to get access to these bodies. These bodies that have now been recovered according to Paria. Bodies of 3 divers recovered. The bodies of 3 of the 4 divers who were trapped in a Paria fuel pipeline since Friday have been recovered. The bodies were removed from the pipe this afternoon, and the families of the 3 men have been informed by the company. The identities of the men is still unclear. Paria Limited issued a statement confirming the discovery. It is with deep sadness that we announce the recovery of the bodies of 3 of the 4 divers who went missing on Friday. The bodies of these 3 missing divers were recovered today around 5:55 p.m. The families of the deceased were first to be notified simultaneously at 6 p.m. by Paria. Attempts to retrieve the 4th body are still ongoing, the company said. It added Paria Company Limited joins the families in mourning their loss and is continuing to provide support and counseling as they deal with this profound loss. As news broke, grieving relatives attempted to storm into the gates of Paria Fuel Trading Limited on Monday evening. President of the First Wave Movement, Umar Abdullah, called on relatives to stay calm, but he was shouted down. Nonsense. This is a waste of time. It's 3 days now we are waiting. A relative of diver Yusuf Henry shouted before she broke down in tears. Today is Monday and we have no word, another relative shouted. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley has issued condolences on the deaths of the 4 men. It is with great sadness that we have just received a confirmation that 4 citizens have lost their lives whilst on technical subsea duty at Paria facilities. Even as we prayed and hoped for a miracle, it was not to be. In this period of great loss and deep trauma for all the families and the national community, I extend sincerest condolences to all their loved ones. Yeah. Yusuf was a close friend, lost his 2 brothers last year. He's with them now. I was reading that he lost 2 brothers at the end of last year. He took some time off from his work because of losing those 2 brothers. This is one of the divers. And not too long returned to work. And now his mother has to face losing a third son. In like what? 3 months' time? In a 3 month span? Three of your adult sons die. That is really difficult. That's really difficult. That is very tough. But yeah, the bodies have been, three of the bodies, they say, have been recovered, and they have notified the family. The family, though, is still down as of this moment, as far as I can know. I saw someone who was speaking to me on that side, was in the live recently. I don't know if they are still there, but the family is up till recently, up till half hour ago, was still down Pointe-à-Pierre, trying to get to see the bodies. And they cannot. They are still locked out of the facility. I heard and I saw pictures of riot police down that side, riot police being there to, keep the family at bay. The whole handling of this situation was insane to me. What is my personal opinion after hearing what the rescuer said? Someone asks. All right, I'll get to that. There are quite a few stories and there's some information inside of there. I'll get to that, and I think we'll see that opinion be elucidated in time. Going back, Paria moves divers mission from rescue to recovery. This was when they changed it from a rescue mission to a recovery mission. After 2 days of searching for 4 members of an underwater maintenance crew, the Paria Fuel Trading Company has given up hope of finding them alive and now moves to recover their bodies. Now, the first thing I'd like to know is that after 2 days of searching, that's something that I'm curious to know. What exactly did they do that they consider searching? What searching did they do exactly? During a press conference at the Pointe-à-Pierre Staff Club at Pointe-à-Pierre Refinery, Paria said the recovery operations will begin today, using a water displacement method to move the bodies out of the 30-inch submarine pipeline. Chairman Newman George said Paria's engineering team was designing the recovery procedure intended to ensure the uninterrupted movement of the bodies to the point of recovery. George said Paria came to this decision after a lengthy meeting between Paria, LMCS, the Coast Guard, and 2 independent diving experts. However, noted in that the families weren't included, of course. He said the company sent probes into the horseshoe-shaped line, but it encountered something at a certain depth and could go no further. They believe the men's bodies could be there and will insert pressurized water into the pipeline, hoping to lift the bodies out. Based on advice from all the experts, the operation has now moved from rescue to recovery. The experts have also agreed on a joint effort which will see a water displacement process being used to gradually push the bodies along the 400-meter pipeline to where they can be successfully recovered at berth 6. The Paria's general manager, he informed that the decision was made after careful consideration of 2 factors: the extremely low likelihood of survival and the risk of placing human life in danger in furtherance of a rescue objective. Our focus now is to treat those bodies with respect during the process of recovery and return to their loved ones. Listen, one of the things that keeps aggravating me in this is that I can't help but shake, I'd call it a feeling because I have no evidence of this. I can't help but shake the feeling that it seems a lot to me like this situation was treated from the beginning, from the jump. It was treated like Paria, once they saw the divers sucked into the pipe, they already decided, well, we'll wait till they die and just recover the bodies. I don't know that to be a fact, but it nearly has that kind of feeling. It nearly has that kind of feeling to it. Like, they thought, well, these men are unrescuable, so we just recover the bodies when it all happens. You wait 2 days, and then you say one of the key factors is the low possibility of survival, low likelihood of survival after 2 days. Well, obviously now, after 2 days, there would be a low likelihood of survival. Obviously. But on the first day at least one man was rescued alive. We'll get more into that. I'm sure many of you are familiar with it, but we'll still get into the details of it as it goes on. Families deny being told before news conference. Immediately after the Paria news conference, political activist Philip Alexander, head of the Progressive Empowerment Party, called on acting police commissioner McDonald Jacob to open a criminal investigation into Paria and its response to the situation involving the divers. Alexander urged Jacob to declare berth number 6 at Point-a-Pay crime scene. Angry relatives who sat alongside Alexander accused Paria officials of being secretive about the situation and denied that they were told before the news conference that Paria had changed the mission from rescue to recovery. They insisted they only learned that it had been changed to recovery via the news conference. They also said it was insulting that Paria officials went to a news conference and extended condolences to the families without first meeting with the families of the men or without confirmation that the men were dead. One person says, and they didn't want people to continue saying it's high risk. Nisu says, and they want the man to go in the first place. So they take 2 days to devise a plan to ensure death. Okay. Yeah. And they're asking for a full investigation into this. Now, I understand the protocol side of this. I think I understand the protocol side of this. But in this entire thing, call elections for what? MUADST. Call elections for what? To vote in who? To vote out whom? Call elections for what? Yeah. In this, there are protocols. Understandable. And I am not a diver. I am sure I'm not even aware of all the protocols involved in this. I'm sure many of the people speaking on this won't be aware of all the protocols involved in this. I am sure. However, what can be seen clearly is there obviously seems to be a lack of communication between the family and the company. Listen, as far as I am thinking, an incident like this, if I'm thinking as somebody, I'm just thinking as somebody more on the PR side, on the human resource side, and you're trying to manage the people side of this. You're trying to manage the public outcry and the public fallout from this. I would think the first thing I'm doing, I'm inviting all of the family into air-conditioned rooms where we are having updates on the regular and the family can all stay there. The optics of the family staying in a bus shed sitting down at the side of the road is already horrible. They are waiting for their family members to see if they survive, to leave them out there. That's already horrible. Schizo says the time frame was a bit long, but the stopping of the divers not going into the pipe is safety. Accident to send more divers to their death. Understandable. That part I said I understand. I could understand the reasoning behind it, but it's still... We'll reach to there. Families stunned as Paria declares missing men dead. They want the family still wants the company to explain how a volunteer diver could have rescued one of the divers 3 hours after the incident, but Paria had refused to allow anyone else to try a rescue, deeming it too unsafe. Now, here's the thing. Paria, in their statement, when Paria released their statement on this, they said they used every resource the country has available. They used every resource the country has available. That's what Paria said. They used he said it here. We responded to the full capability of the country, said Paria's general manager. So, okay, the full capability of the country. Yet, let's take this, the full capability of the country. Yet, if that one person didn't disobey the protocol, there would be 5 dead men instead of just 4. So you're trying to tell me, as the head over at Paria, that this country's full capability would not have even rescued the one man who got out of the pipe. You're understanding that? The man got out of the pipe. He was covered in oil. He was down there and confused. If that diver didn't go in there, that man may have reached to the mouth of the pipe and then died there. And then you could have told me that that is the full capability of this country. Full capability under the protocols. All right, good. Glad you said that. Now, do the protocols need to be checked? If you'd be, actually, you can pop in. Actually, you can pop in, because, by the way, I'm just letting you know as you pop in here that this is also live on YouTube and the audio would go across there too. But yes, you can pop in. So, are you clear there? Good night.
Yeah, you hearing me?
I am hearing you. I am hearing you.
Alright. So alright, yeah, just to touch on that situation. Alright? Understandable that a lot of safety protocols for the divers them to enter the pipe. Well, it's barriers basically for them not to enter, right? But at the same time, when they say they exerted the full capabilities and the response and all that nonsense, that's a load of crap. A permit, because they needed a permit to enter a confined space, right?
Yeah.
That literally takes 2 days. This is coming from experience, right? Because they have to go and find the hazards associated with entering that pipe, the chemical hazards that associated with what the divers them going to face inside there. Then that have to go towards the MTL, OTL, then to maybe the CEO, the OIM of that facility. That is 2 days max.
So you're telling me the protocol to do an emergency rescue takes 2 days? That's what Parry are telling me, that the protocol protocol they wanted to do would have taken 2 days? Well then,
No, I being honest with you, that would not have taken 2 days. That would have taken a couple, to be quite honest, a couple minutes. If they had it on site, you understand? Because with these tasks that these guys went and do,
yeah,
it's not to say, first off, there was a lockout tagout situation. They didn't do that, right? The pump, quote unquote, started, which created the vacuum for the guy, and they got sucked into the pipe.
yeah. How did the pump start though?
Diameter of the pipe itself is 10 pixels. Now that is where the questions have to start to come. Because in order for that pump to start, a valve it must be turned. You understand? So handovers, number 1, no confined space attendants. The rescue team and all these other stuff, right? The Sentinel, the Minister of Energy said the Sentinel crawl. That's the type of machine that they use, and it was blocked by 2 tanks. Load of crap again. Right? They sent in the ROV. The ROV is not big enough to fit into that 6-inch line. You understand? The ROV was there just to basically check the outside of the pump, the pipe.
So what this is, I don't know. I am just asking and trying to see what makes sense here. This seems to me like the protocols in place for an emergency like this were not in place. Ronnie is saying they only had 45 minutes of air, so unless they acted right away, they were dead from the jump. But Ronnie, the guy that was rescued 3 hours after. So that 45 minutes thing can't buy. The guy was rescued 3 hours after. The guy that was rescued said that the guy behind him was alive. They said, the divers said they were hearing knocking on the pipe still. So to say that the men were still dead, the men were dead on Sunday when you said it, but they weren't dead on Friday afternoon when the divers were there, the professionals that were there. Now, I understand people saying that the protocols mean you can't just send in people randomly in something. I understand industry. I understand protocols mean you just don't do things vai. But if men there who professionally trained for this have the equipment for it, and they say they are willing to go and make an attempt, I don't think these men are crazy. I don't think they're just going down there to risk their lives also.
Why not send them? Why not give these men a fighting chance? None of these CEOs never entered a confined space. They don't know how that feels. I entered a numerous confined space, and I am telling you, I understand what these fellas went through. You understand? The long-term exposure from that raw crude oil in that line added the byproducts of the crude oil, benzene, all these other things. The survivor inhaled. And these things cause long-term effect.
Richard Glubman asks if they die, who responsible? Now, I would put that back to him because I saw someone earlier ask him the same question. If there's a fire going on inside of your house is on fire, you have a child or a relative inside there, and you feel you know your house and you're seeing a way that you could do this, and the fire officer on the ground saying that, you know what, we have done a risk assessment, we're going to just watch this person who we know is still alive, we're going to hear them scream and watch them die inside there. You're going to say, you know what, we can't risk losing another life, we're going to leave them to die inside there. Really that's what we're going to say? I think I understand the protocols that I do, but I think at the end of the day, if there are divers there who say they are willing,
it was sloppy. That was very, very avoidable situation, and these men would have been alive today if they granted you guys the opportunity to try and rescue. You understand? And the thing is, I know 2 of the divers. You understand? We worked together on facilities. You understand?
Yeah.
And it's real sad to see you take 3 days. Like, where in the world does that?
And people keep saying who would have been responsible if more lives were lost. How, like, I am understanding the statement of that, but you're trying to tell me that you believe these other divers that came with the equipment, knowing the error that occurred, knowing what occurred previously. By the way, if what this guy is saying here is correct, the only reason they got sucked in was a pump was turned on. That's another question. But if you're telling me right now that they could not have ensured that the pump was not turned on again to make sure the same thing doesn't happen again, that there was no way for them to make sure this doesn't happen again, to allow divers to rescue. I also saw the divers say, I saw the divers say that they had an option also of lifting the pipe and cutting it. These are the professional people. They're talking that. I wasn't there. I am not sure. When I first heard this story,
I don't think cutting that pipe would have missed him.
the first thing I thought of when I thought of this story was knowing the reality of how much of the industry works. I think I would not be surprised if a lot of protocols, safety protocols, were not followed in the lead up to this. So the cover up right now may not be anything that they did bad afterwards necessarily, but more so about the lack of safety protocols before the incident. Because much of all industries don't actually follow safety protocols, Many people don't. It's just that they happen to not end up in an accident. But when an accident does happen, is when the safety comes into check.
Correct is right. And this is where, now after before any job is done or even started, you do a walk-up of the facility, of the site where you're going to work. A risk management is generated. They built a habitat, right? Number one, there's a confined space. Any area where a habitat is built, that is considered a confined space. These guys are supposed to have at every second a whole attendant checking up on them. It was 5 of them. You're supposed to have 6 ERT rescuers at hand. Right? Now, where the permit that these guys would have signed to? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Where is the risk assessment they would have signed? These things are legally binding. These things stand up in court.
Well, they are saying that a full investigation is going to be done, and they're looking for independent international investigators. Glowing Faith, that's a good question. That's what I'm thinking in this. I'm thinking not even after the accident and they're already in trouble. I'm thinking before that. It seems to me like the very setup for this job was problems. Now, I'm not looking to get anybody in further trouble, but an interesting addition to this is even the diving contractor seems very okay with all that Paria was doing. So, you see, if there was mistakes or missteps or skipped steps in the actual doing of the job, it could be even on the contractor and the main company. But it seems to me clearly like there were some missing steps even before all of this happened. Why were the divers in the water? Glowing Faith, you're asking the kind of questions I think they need to hire you to go on that investigative team. The annoying thing to me is these questions you're asking, this investigation might go on for a year and we may never get the answers.
Because they are now, as you say, they're going to bring an independent body to do the investigation. And mind you, I am so certain that permit that these gentlemen would have signed to do that task will be nowhere to be found.
Well, they could make it up after. They could try and make the permit after.
That is a possibility. That is a possibility. But as I said, that was the drop the ball. Paria dropped the ball. The contractors dropped the ball. that rescue was a waste of time, and these tanks that these guys went in there with was, I think it's 2 hours max, and then they have a reserve oxygen of for 15 to 20 minutes. You understand? So you start to do the maths now.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying? These guys could have been with the family, maybe, a little broken up, but alive.
All right.
Understand? They say they sent in a camera, and the camera couldn't go any further because the air, 2 of the air tanks was blocking the passage. BS. Complete BS.
You don't believe that air tanks were blocking the passage? You don't believe that air tanks were blocking the passage?
No. And then the diameter of our 36-inch line, that is basically what it is. The diameter is 36 inches. Inside of the pipe itself is actually a bit smaller. Right? Hence the reason why the first guy could have crawled, and but as he said, he crawled for some time because crude oil is quickly flipping on, running out of oxygen, trying to regulate his breathing so he will not use up his oxygen faster, while trying to with whoever was behind him. This is what this man went through, and this is what the other, God rest his soul, the other 4 went through. You understand? The tapping went in himself.
But I'm glowing feet as far as you could tell me if there's something more to it. A delta P event is basically just pressure difference causing a suction, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
That's what delta P is, a pressure difference causing a suction. Yeah. So I understand that. I understand that. And anything blocking, if something is blocking that, it's going to get a lot of power. Very likely when they get sucked into there, they may get beaten up quite a bit in that pipe too. So, and they said that the one who got out, the one who was rescued, said that the reason 2 of them alone were trying to make it out the pipe was the other 2 were very injured, and one of the other 2 was really badly injured. So already they were kind of in a bad state when they got there. So yeah.
Yep, that's exactly what it is.
But it's still, I understand. When you're looking at hindsight, especially when it comes to death, you'd always be thinking that there was something more that could be done. Nearly every death that wasn't old age, you'd be thinking something more could be done. But something like this, 4 lives, and you see, the thing that makes everyone stand at attention when looking at this and see that this, all the reasons people give you about the protocols and the safety, it kind of goes out the window when you see the fact that a man disobeyed the protocols, went down and rescued somebody. Like, if they went down and they didn't rescue anybody, then you might say, well, maybe the protocols made sense. Or if nobody was ever rescued, you may have said the protocols. It's a scary thought to me. If all the protocols were kept, when the diver came and they say, hey, boss man, you can't dive in there now, you no pass, boy. He stopped right there and said, oh gosh, boy, hard luck, boy. And he stayed out there. The chances might be that one guy who was rescued may have reached the end of the pipe and died. Can you imagine that? You crawled to the end of the pipe.
It's not a good thought. Trust and believe. It's not a good thought at all. Because you are in complete darkness. Keep that in mind, Complete darkness. You are in complete darkness in a space where literally about 28 inches. You are surrounded by crude oil and H2S, benzene, you name it. You name whatever chemical you have in there. You could think about, and it is there among you. And you
Listen,
have to regulate knowing that your oxygen level is low.
in the contemplation I did today, I I spoke about that too. The man who came out, the one who was rescued, he said the leader of the dive team pushed him out, and that was how he was. He said he gave up twice while he was trying to make his way out the pipe, and the leader behind him pushed him out, helped push him out. Now, if I'm thinking about calculating risk and all of that, even in calculating risk, the leader wasn't supposed to use up his energy pushing this guy. Let's wait here, keep calm and let's wait. They will send in something to rescue us. That's what we're supposed to do. But that leader, by not trying to calculate risk for himself and his own sake and being selfish about it, he pushed him out. And here's something that I found interesting in that. And maybe it might have been that the four others may have died anyway. Maybe. But something I found interesting, when they got out that one, they rescued the one guy. He was saying that, hey, the one who pushed me out is right there, Faizo right there, go back and get him. They said when they went back, he already was not there.
Slid right back down.
So it seems to me that this man fought to help to rescue this guy. When the other guy reached out, he couldn't even make it already. Man, that's heroic. I ain't gonna lie, that one raised my pause. That's heroic and very tragic too at the same time.
Good night, Paul. Doggy, what's the scene, brother? Long time no see.
Brother. I did.
Pertaining to this thing with Paria here, right? Now, for confined spaces, yes, you have to get a permit. But part of that permit is something called an emergency management rescue analysis.
Correct.
Right? That dictates if anything is supposed to go wrong, protocol is supposed to be in place to retrieve and recover personnel and equipment. Right? Now, the problem with this whole situation is that the recovery management was not in place when those guys were in the habitat and already started to work. Right? The incident happened, all well and good. The response time that it takes from when that incident happened and those guys leave the habitat and was sucked into the pipe to when Harrier was notified and the family of these same guys, because I work with a few of them well, right, with the diving. The guys that came to rescue them are family of the same divers.
Yeah.
Many of them are in the same circle, right? They are in the same circle. We know each other very well. Pertaining to go down in that pipe because of that same delta P effect, the pressure in the pipe is now equalized. So whatever was the initial cause to create, it is no longer as bad as it was before. That is why he do so and decided to disobey the command of not entering the habitat, right? They found Chris on the edge of the pipe coming out into the habitat. So they did not enter the 36th line when they found Chris.
Yeah, I know that.
Right? Now, for carrier aspect of it, no one is supposed to enter a confined space unless you go through that response management training pertaining to that actual project. So because these guys that responded were not initially part of the project, they are not supposed to enter the work environment, much less a confined environment. They, being professional divers, know that. But the fact that it's family, reason and logic or protocol goes out the door for mostly stuff like that. Because again, one is his father that he's going to rescue. He didn't care anything about Christopher. His father was right behind. It's his father he was going for. Right? So I understand on pariah aspect of it why they wanted to follow the protocol. Now, when Coast Guard arrived, this is where I have the when Coast Guard arrived, Coast Guard have the proper equipment to do long distance confined space pipe rescue. Those suits are the suits that are attached with airlines to the back of the suit that you could go beyond the 70 feet mark of a normal suit. The same divers from KLM are also qualified to do those same long distance rescues. So they could have used Coast Guard equipment and initiate the confined space long distance rescue. But rather than that, due to pariah and management,
Go ahead, I'm listening.
they stopped that from happening. And this is where I have the issue with pertaining to pariah and KLM with the rescue. And Dougie, you know this because we were picking already.
Yes. Yes.
I'm trying to do something about the echo that people are complaining about. But yeah.
Well said. You are absolutely correct. Absolutely correct.
Well, I'm seeing glowing feet, and again, I am not a diver. I am not a diver, but I saw glowing feet say something that it may be possible that there could have been air pockets inside of the pipe still, and if there were air pockets inside of the pipe, it could still have very well had further delta P events, and that means the pressure would have been unstable.
No.
Does that make sense?
Okay. With the air pockets inside the pipe, right? What the air pockets would have caused generally won't be that of violent pressure drop. So that is 2 hours plus 30 minutes reserve. So between the 5 of them with sharing that amount of air together could have lagged within 6 hours sharing.
Yeah, no. once the Coast Guard arrived. So I'm seeing glowing faith. I suppose you would be a diver, the way you're speaking. He is saying that is all speculation. That the risk would have still been too great for even the Coast Guard divers to go down there. So I am asking for glowing faith. If you want, you could come up into the live and speak. But I'm asking, I am asking, how do divers get rescued then? Are you saying that if an incident like this happens anywhere in the world, that the general protocol is, well, they are dead and you leave them for dead? Is that the protocol that we are supposed to be expecting? Because what you're seeing is it was impossible for anybody to know how dangerous the situation was. Okay, so then we are supposed to, when that happens to divers, or we don't know all the facts of the situation. Okay, true, that is fair. That is true. That is true. A lot of what we are doing here is speculation. None of us were down there to know exactly the situation in the water. But yeah. You know, as you're saying that, that is actually what I said from the early on, that it seemed like to me. It seemed like to me because it seemed nearly like from the very jump of it, it seemed like y'all would have to take some more echo until I solve that problem, because the Instagram folks won't be able to hear the audio. Instagram and YouTube won't be able to hear the audio. I'll solve that for the next time, don't worry. But yeah. It nearly seems to me. You're welcome, man, and you could come back anytime when I'm here. What was your question, Roni? So, who should be in charge of emergency diving, not the company contracted to do the diving? I am not sure who should be in charge of the emergency. That's according to the contract.
Roni, the answer to that is yeah. The company that's doing the repairs and the diving is also responsible for the emergency management applications, but also Carrier is responsible for it. So both companies supposed to be there and present for in case anything happens to do that emergency rescue. They were asking a question, Nathan, if tainted divers who will be there to rescue divers, your National Coast Guard is your last resort. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Your company is responsible for when they do the risk assessment to provide the response for that risk assessment also. So KLM is also part to fault and part.
Why people blaming the government? People blame the government for everything. Listen, even if you're blaming Paria, that isn't a direct blame on the government. Stuart Young and Dr. Rowley had no part to play in this. You see that automatic blaming of the government kind of thing, that auto blaming? Yes, it's LMCS. That automatic blaming of the government thing for everything. That's tedious to me. That's tedious. It just doesn't.
If you've been working with them a long time, just stuff.
You see that piece of news? I did not know that. That's industry news. It is the PNM fault, of course. Always the PNM fault. All right. So tomorrow, I hope I'll be able to fix up the audio a bit better so that we could actually have more guests. And I'd like to do that more as we speak on more stories and have some guests even in here. And hopefully maybe even some who are down there to have more of a first-hand account. Now, some people are speaking about the technical aspect and all of that. A lot of what I'm upset about doesn't even have anything to do with the technical aspect about whether someone should have dived or... It's handling of the situation. It's obvious that presently the Paria Company Limited needs a PR management team. They need a team to be able to handle and hire this. Government put those managers there. True, but still it isn't directly their fault. They have the board with no expertise. I am pretty sure the board may not say that they have no expertise. Those men were talking, right? Yes, it is a difficult thing. It is a difficult thing. And as Rhea said, if they tried everything and couldn't save them, the public's response would have been different. I not necessarily different, but there's at least an image of trying everything. There's at least an image of it looking like there's some real urgency to 5 lives going down there. The feeling that the public got from Paria is that when this happened, we took our hands off, and then come 2 days later, we come and tell you we're looking for the bodies. That doesn't feel very emergency like. What the example that I draw to this in closing, the example I draw to this is the boy that fell in the well in Morocco. He fell in a well his father was repairing. I would say me understanding little boys and a boy that age and a boy that age me understanding wells and boys that age, I would say that I wouldn't be surprised if there was some of his fault in him falling into that well. The little boy that fell in the well in Morocco a couple weeks ago. But as soon as he fell in the well, the mobilization that it had seemed like, yeah, everyone wants this boy to come out alive. They were there, excavators. It obviously costed probably millions of dollars trying to get this little boy, and eventually when they got him, it was to get his body, unfortunately. But it seemed pretty clear like there was urgency to the lives there. Empress Roni is drawing the point that if you hire a contractor, whose fault it is if something goes wrong. But Roni, this isn't as simple as you hiring a contractor in your house. This isn't that simple. This is the industry where you have dangerous equipment, dangerous things connected to other things, etc., etc., etc. If you hired somebody to do something as a contractor in a dangerous situation where you are responsible for other contingencies around the dangerous situation, then your responsibility is still somewhat inside there. You understand what I mean? It's not just on them as you hired them as your contractor, so you have no liability in the entire thing. That's not generally how it's done. All right. And it isn't even the spring after that. I have unfortunate news for those of you over on TikTok. That's all I have for now. On TikTok, even. I am going to leave you now. I have to go visit. I have to go take care of some stuff. You are in construction field. Do you want to be responsible for other people? No, I don't. I don't necessarily want to be responsible for other people. But you have to be responsible for what you do and the risks that you take. And I'll tell you, in the construction sector, I'm sure the following of safety is even much less than the following of safety in the industry. There are men still going up on 4 levels of each scaffold, not even tied to anything, on unlevel shaky ground. There are still men doing that at the age of 60 and stuff in local contracting and construction. That's dangerous. But yes, that is right, Rooney. I am. However, if I am put at risk by something that the employer put there, if I go to do something, I go to do a job, and let's say I go to do some demolition and the owner of the building doesn't inform me properly that the wall they want me to demolish is a load bearing wall, it's holding up something up there, and I put heavy equipment in it and it falls and damages someone. Yeah, it's partly my responsibility, but it's partly the owner's responsibility. There's enough responsibility to go wrong, especially when you're dealing with massive things like an industry, when you're dealing with factories. Anyway, that's all I have for now, folks, over on Instagram, on YouTube, and even on TikTok. I must leave, unfortunately. Safety should be your first priority in the industry, they always say, but very rarely is it. Very, very rarely is it ever safety. And here's the thing. So often, safety, no one takes on safety until people die. All right, that's all I have for now. I will see you all tomorrow starting at 9:30. Until then, peace.